Hi, Sheila here. I would like to talk a little bit more about how we can use the breath to bring a sense of calm, a sense of ease, and to really help our nervous system to reach more of a balance, to get out of that state of anxiety or fear or agitation that is quite likely we are feeling on a day-to-day basis. So this has been my experience through the years of working with the breath, but it is also really shown to be true in the field of psychology and neuroscience, that there's a connection between what we think, what we carry in our minds, and what we then carry in our bodies. And that keeping our bodies in the light of all of those stressful thoughts is not really so healthy for us physiologically. And besides all that, it really feels good to take a rest. So oftentimes we find that when we come to rest, we decide we'll sit down and we'll take a break, the mind starts going. And I do think, especially today, because so much is unresolved, we tend to think that if we could resolve it, if we had a solution in mind, if we could figure it out, that somehow we would understand it and it would make it better. I think that that's been proven not to always be the case. That trying to understand why people do things, even if they're our partners or our children or our bosses, that understanding what they do doesn't always make it easy to be with. So let's just put aside understanding and move into something a little more, you would say, behavioral. How can I just take care of myself in the midst of all this? This is all going on. I don't really understand why or how, but how can I care for myself? So when we think about using the breath, first I want to say you need to know that this is a comfortable thing for you. And maybe next week I'll speak in more depth about other anchors. But for today, it's the breath. So sometimes we sit down, we decide we're going to watch our breath because we've heard it's really a skillful thing to do, and our thoughts are right there. Or one breath, two breaths, and we're off into some scenario about how it's going to be next week, next month, or even just this afternoon. And we find that staying present with the breath is more of a challenge than we thought. Breath becomes elusive and the thoughts take over. The thoughts are not bad things, it's just their tendency to do that. They are sticky. They have sometimes what we think of as hooks. They get in there and they hook in, and it takes a little bit of doing to release them. So I'll just offer a couple of things that you can do to make the breath easier to hold on to. So counting the breath, I've mentioned that before, and I'll just go over that a little bit more. We can notice when we watch the breath that there's an inhale, an exhale, and usually a pause at the end of the exhale. So we can use those three components to focus on a little more. And it's sometimes helpful to use your fingers. You've got 10 fingers. You can go through 10 rounds of breath. So you don't have to really be counting in your mind, but you can just use a finger on your thigh or on the table. So the thumb, number 1, inhale, exhale, pause. So you're not really saying those words to yourself as much as you're doing it. And when you complete one round of those 3 parts, you move to the next finger, the index finger. Inhale, exhale, pause. And so you don't move to the next finger until you are ready to begin that cycle again. And of course, everyone will have a different rate at which they move through their fingers because everyone's capacity for breath is a little different, and you want to go at your own pace, just putting down one finger at a time as you move through the inhale, the exhale, and the pause. So moving your fingers as you go and just having this idea of waiting for 3 components in the cycle just allows the breath a bigger presence, and so it becomes a little more accessible for our awareness. It's a really smart tool. So all of these tools work. You need to give them a little bit of time. And they're tools that everyone uses. I know people who've been practicing and meditating for many years, and there are just days and times when they need also a little bit of assistance. It's good to give ourselves what we need as long as it's something wholesome. So we may feel we need like another gallon of ice cream, but it's not always wholesome. Watching your breath always is. It will generally elicit a response that is healthy for us. So see how that goes, and as always, if you have questions, you can reach out to me through the community center. I hope everyone is kind of settling into the new abnormal, we call it. I hope all of your families are safe and well.